The millionaire breaks down in tears, seeing a black woman and her sister selling a Ray painting. John Harrison, Mr. Harrison to most, stood frozen. Millionaire John Harrison, reduced to a quivering mess by a painting and two young women selling it in Central Park like it was lemonade on a hot day? It was insane. He'd been escaping another one of those soul-crushing charity lunches. You know, the kind where everyone pretends to care while eyeing each other's Rolexes. When, bam, he saw it. The painting. Golden light just pouring off the canvas, even on a cloudy day. It hit him, hard, like a punch to the gut, dragging up memories he'd buried deep, real deep. Then he heard them talking, the two women. Sisters, maybe? "We have to sell it, Sarah. Mom's only hope." Hope? Hope for what? As he got closer, the air seemed to thicken. He saw it then. The eyes. One sister, Sarah, had them. Claire's eyes. And Laura? Laura was a spitting image of someone he hadn't seen in 30 years. Claire, his sister. 30 years. He'd ignored her letters, tossed her calls aside like yesterday's news, convinced himself she was better off without his tainted money. Now, cancer. And these women, his nieces, were selling what looked like their last hope to save her. He fumbled for his wallet, heart hammering against his ribs. He'd buy the painting, buy them a cure, buy back some shred of decency. A tear escaped, carving a path through his Botoxed face. He offered them a fortune, enough to bury their worries forever. Sarah's eyes turned to ice. "Where were you, Uncle John? All these years? We don't need your charity now." Ouch. That stung worse than any hostile takeover. Then Laura gasped. She was staring at the back of the painting, her fingers tracing something hidden beneath layers of grime. "Sarah, look, it's signed. EB 1928. "What? 1928? Who the heck was EB? They exchanged a look, a silent conversation that shut him out completely. The weight of his past, his failures, crushed him. Sarah turned back, her face unreadable. "Actually, Uncle John," she said, her voice low, "maybe we do need your help, but not in the way you think. Ei, antes de continuarmos com essa história incrível, preciso te fazer alerta importante. Muitos inscritos têm relatado que o YouTube removeu suas inscrições sem aviso. Dá só uma conferida rápida no botão vermelho aí embaixo para garantir que você ainda está inscrito no canal. Não quero que você perca nenhum conteúdo exclusivo que vem por aí. E já que você está aí, deixa aquele like poderoso que me ajuda muito com o algoritmo. Ah, e me conta nos comentários de qual cidade você está assistindo. Adoro conhecer cada pessoa incrível que faz parte dessa comunidade. Sua participação faz toda a diferença. Vamos interagir." Sarah turned back, her face unreadable. "Actually, Uncle John," she said, her voice low, "maybe we do need your help, but not in the way you think." My head was spinning. What did she mean? Help with what? This whole thing was weirder than a cat wearing a tutu. Okay, I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. What kind of help? Laura, bless her heart, looked like she was about to faint. She kept staring at the back of the painting, her face getting paler and paler. "Uncle John," she whispered, Do you know anything about someone named Eleanor Bellweather?" Eleanor Bellweather. The name buzzed in my brain like a faulty neon sign. Eleanor. Wait. No, it couldn't be. Eleanor Bellweather was a friend, I stammered. A long, long time ago. More than a friend. My college sweetheart. Before the money, before the suits, before everything went to hell. Sarah's eyes narrowed. She was a painter. Right? A really good one? I nodded, feeling like I was sinking in quicksand. Eleanor was brilliant, a whirlwind of color and passion. But she disappeared, just vanished. I thought, she didn't want me anymore. My father certainly didn't want her, said she was beneath me. Then Laura spoke, her voice trembling. Uncle John, Eleanor Bellweather was our grandmother. Boom! The world tilted. My knees went weak. These women, they weren't just Claire's daughters. They were Eleanor's granddaughters. My God. My life, my choices, it all crashed down on me like a tidal wave. That's impossible, I croaked. Eleanor, she never. Sarah cut me off, her voice sharp. She never told you she was pregnant? She never told you she was carrying your child, John? The words hit me like a physical blow. A child? Mine? All these years, I had a child and grandchildren, and I knew nothing. Suddenly, a siren wailed in the distance, growing louder, closer. I barely registered it. My whole life had just been turned inside out. Then, everything went sideways. A black SUV screeched to a halt right next to us. Two guys in dark suits jumped out, guns drawn. FBI! Freeze! One of them yelled. Sarah and Laura screamed. People in the park scattered like pigeons. What the hell is going on? I shouted. But the agents ignored me. They were focused on the painting. That's it! The Bellweather painting. We've been tracking it for months. Bellweather? Tracking? What the heck was so special about this painting? One of the agents grabbed the painting, yanking it out of Laura's hands. This is evidence. You're all coming with us. Wait, what about my mom? Sarah cried. We need to sell the painting for her treatment. We'll take care of it, the agent said, his voice cold. Now move. They shoved us into the SUV. Me, Sarah, and Laura. Like common criminals. As the car sped away, I saw a glint of metal in the rearview mirror. One of the agents was carefully peeling back the canvas of the painting. And underneath was something else. Something that shimmered and glowed. Something that looked like a map. A map made of gold. A map made of gold. My brain was officially fried. FBI? Stolen painting? Golden map? What fresh hell was this? Sarah and Laura were huddled together in the back, looking like they'd seen a ghost. I couldn't blame them. I felt like one. What's going on, Uncle John? Laura whispered, her voice trembling. What's that map? I shook my head. I have no idea, I swear. All I know is Eleanor. She was a painter, a damn good one. And apparently, a woman of many secrets. The SUV swerved, throwing us against each other. We were heading downtown, fast. The city blurred by outside the window. I tried to think, to make sense of it. But my thoughts were just a jumbled mess. Then, the agent in the passenger seat turned around. He had that golden map in his hands, studying it intently. This is bigger than we thought, he muttered into his radio. Much bigger. He looked at me, really looked at me, like he was seeing me for the first time. And what he saw, he didn't like. John Harrison, right? He said, his voice hard. Mr. Harrison to most, I hear. I swallowed. That's me. You know Eleanor Bellweather. You knew about the painting. It wasn't a question. I I knew Eleanor. I haven't seen her in 30 years. I didn't know anything about a painting or a map. I was lying through my teeth, and I knew it. But what else could I do? He just smirked. We'll see about that. Suddenly, the SUV lurched violently. Tires screeched. We were hit hard. Everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on the floor of the SUV. The car was a wreck, crumpled like a tin can. The agents were gone. So were Sarah and Laura. And the painting. Panic clawed at my throat. Where were they? Were they okay? I stumbled out of the wreckage, ignoring the searing pain in my shoulder. Sirens wailed in the distance. People were gathering, staring. Are you all right, sir? Someone asked. I ignored them. I had to find Sarah and Laura. Then I saw it. A small piece of paper tucked under the windshield wiper. I snatched it up. A single word was scrawled across it in messy handwriting. Eleanor. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about a painting. This was personal. This was about Eleanor. And someone wanted me to know it. I crumpled the paper in my fist, my heart pounding. I had to find them. All of them. But I knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. That the real nightmare was about to start. Then my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. Hello? I said, my voice trembling. A voice, cold and distorted, answered. John, it's time you learned the truth about Eleanor. Meet me at the old lighthouse at Montauk. Midnight. Come alone, and bring what's rightfully mine. The line went dead. Montauk? The lighthouse? That's where Eleanor and I. My head was spinning. What was going on? What truth? And what was rightfully theirs? I looked around, my eyes scanning the crowd. Was I being watched? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was a pawn in some twisted game. And then I saw her, standing across the street, partially hidden in the shadows. A woman, older, but instantly recognizable. Eleanor. But it couldn't be. Eleanor disappeared 30 years ago. And this woman, she looked different, harder, colder. She raised her hand, beckoning me to come closer. My feet moved on their own. I crossed the street, drawn to her like a moth to a flame. Eleanor, I whispered, my voice barely audible. She smiled, a chilling, unsettling smile. Hello, John, she said, her voice like ice. It's good to see you again. Or should I say, Uncle John? Then the world exploded. A deafening roar filled the air. The ground shook, and the woman standing before me, she transformed. Her skin shimmered, cracked, and peeled away, revealing something monstrous beneath. Eyes glowed with an unholy light. Claws extended from her fingertips. And a voice, no longer human, boomed in my head. You should have stayed away, John. Now, you will pay the price for your sins. The creature lunged. The creature lunged. I screamed, a sound swallowed by the rush of wind. What was happening? The world twisted around me, colors blurring, the creature's grotesque face dissolving into nothing. I felt a sickening lurch in my stomach, like free-falling from a skyscraper. Then, silence. I was standing somewhere else. Not a street in New York, not Montauk, This was a forest, dense, ancient, with trees so tall they blotted out the sky, and the air, it thrummed with a strange energy. I looked down at my hands. They were younger, smoother, not the hands of a millionaire, but the hands of a college kid. Panic surged through me. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. I was losing it. The stress, the kidnapping, Eleanor, it had finally pushed me over the edge. Then I heard a voice I hadn't heard in decades, but knew instantly. John? John? Is that you? I spun around, and there she was, Eleanor. Young, radiant, her eyes sparkling with life. The Eleanor I remembered. The Eleanor I loved. Eleanor, I croaked, my voice trembling. But how? Where are we? She smiled, a genuine, heartbreakingly beautiful smile. We're where we were always meant to be, John. Before your father, before the money, before everything went wrong. I stared at her, speechless. This had to be a dream, a hallucination, a cruel joke. Then a figure stepped out from behind a tree. A man, tall, imposing, with a stern face and piercing blue eyes. My father, but younger, much younger, the age he was when he tore Eleanor and me apart. John, he said, his voice cold and disapproving. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be associating with... He glanced at Eleanor, his lip curling in distaste. Then he stopped. His eyes widened. He stared at me, his face slowly turning ashen. That's not possible, he whispered, his voice barely audible. That can't be you. He took a step closer, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and recognition. He reached out a trembling hand and touched my face. You're me, he stammered. But older. What have you done? I stared back at him, my mind reeling. What was happening? This wasn't just a dream. It was something else. Something impossible. Then Eleanor spoke, her voice filled with a strange mixture of sadness and understanding. He doesn't know, does he? She said, looking at my father. He doesn't know what you did. My father recoiled, his face contorted with guilt and fear. Eleanor, please, don't tell him. He can't know. Know what? I demanded, my voice shaking with rage and confusion. What are you talking about? What did you do? My father looked at me, his eyes filled with desperation. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Then Eleanor stepped forward and placed her hand on my arm. John, she said, her voice soft but firm. Your father didn't just disapprove of me. He didn't just try to keep us apart. He made a deal. A deal with someone or something that gave him everything he ever wanted. But it came at a price, a terrible price. She paused, taking a deep breath. He sacrificed you, John. He sacrificed your future. He traded it for his own success. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My own father sacrificed me for his own ambition? Rage exploded inside me. I turned to my father, my fists clenched, ready to strike. But before I could move, a deafening roar echoed through the forest. The ground trembled, and the trees around us began to twist and writhe, their branches clawing at the sky. Something was coming, something ancient, something powerful, something evil. And I had a feeling it was coming for all of us. My father let out a blood-curdling scream. Eleanor grabbed my hand. "Run, John, run!" she cried. "It's coming for what's owed." And as we fled through the darkening forest, I knew that my life, my past, my very existence was a lie. And the truth was far more terrifying than anything I could have ever imagined. "Run, John, run!" she cried. "It's coming for what's owed." And as we fled through the darkening forest, I knew that my life, my past, my very existence was a lie. And the truth was far more terrifying than anything I could have ever imagined. We ran, Eleanor, young again, pulling me through the undergrowth like a deer. My father, stumbling behind us, whimpering. The roar behind us grew louder, closer. The air crackled with energy, like a lightning storm about to break. "What is it, Eleanor? What's coming?" I yelled, desperate for answers. She didn't stop, didn't even look back. "The collector, John. Your father made a deal with the collector. For wealth, for power. And he promised him something in return. Something that was always meant to be yours. The collector? Deal? What in God's name was going on? This was insane. A bad dream. A nightmare. We burst into a small clearing. In the center stood a massive oak tree, its branches gnarled and twisted like skeletal fingers. And carved into the trunk, a symbol I recognized. I'd seen it before, on the back of that damn painting. "We have to stop," Eleanor said, her voice tight with fear. "This is where the deal was made. This is where it ends." My father collapsed at the base of the tree, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm sorry, John. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what I was doing." I ignored him. My eyes were fixed on the symbol on the tree. It pulsed with an eerie light, drawing me in. Then the ground began to tremble again. The air grew thick with the smell of sulfur, and a figure emerged from the shadows beneath the oak tree. Tall, gaunt, dressed in black. Its face was hidden by a mask, a golden mask shaped like a skull. "The collector," Eleanor whispered, her voice filled with dread. The figure glided towards us, its movements unnaturally smooth. It stopped in front of my father, its golden mask gleaming in the dim light. "The debt is due," the collector said, its voice a chilling rasp. "You promised me his soul. Now, deliver." My father cowered before the figure, shaking his head frantically. "No, I can't. I won't." The collector raised a hand, and a bolt of black energy shot from its fingertips, striking my father in the chest. He screamed, a high-pitched, agonizing scream, and then he was gone, reduced to dust. I stared in horror at the spot where my father had stood just moments before. My own father, obliterated by this thing. The collector turned its gaze towards me. Its golden mask seemed to bore into my soul. "Now," it said, its voice even colder than before, "it's your turn." Eleanor stepped in front of me, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You'll have to go through me first." The collector chuckled, a dry, mirthless sound. "You? What, mere mortal? You are nothing." Then it raised its hand again. But before it could strike, something unexpected happened. Eleanor, she changed. Her eyes glowed with the same eerie light as the symbol on the tree. Her body shimmered, and then she transformed. Wings sprouted from her back, feathery black wings. Her skin turned pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were no longer human. They were the eyes of an angel, a fallen angel. "You will not touch him," she hissed. Her voice no longer the sweet, gentle voice I remembered. It was powerful, ancient, terrifying. The collector recoiled, its golden mask tilting in surprise. "Impossible! You were never meant to." Then Eleanor lunged. The two figures clashed, a whirlwind of black wings and golden masks. The ground shook, the trees swayed, the air crackled with energy. I stood frozen, paralyzed with fear and disbelief. Eleanor, an angel, fighting some demonic collector? My head was spinning. This was too much. Way too much. Then I saw it. On the ground, where my father had been standing, a glint of metal. I reached down and picked it up. It was a small, silver locket. I recognized it instantly. It was the locket I had given Eleanor so many years ago, the one with my picture inside. I opened it, and instead of my picture, there was something else. A tiny, folded piece of paper. I unfolded it, and on it, written in Eleanor's familiar handwriting, a single word. "Run! Run!" My heart hammered against my ribs. Run? From what? From Eleanor? From the collector? From this insane reality I'd been thrust into? Eleanor and the collector were locked in a fierce battle. Feathers and energy crackled around them, a whirlwind of light and shadow. I wanted to help Eleanor, but I was just me. An old, out-of-shape millionaire who was suddenly a college kid again. What could I possibly do? Run. The word echoed in my head. It wasn't just a suggestion. It was an order from Eleanor, and I knew deep down that I had to obey. I turned and fled, crashing through the undergrowth, ignoring the thorns that tore at my clothes. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to get away. Away from the collector, away from the forest, away from all of it. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs ached. Finally, I stumbled out of the trees and onto a dirt road. I didn't recognize it. It could have been anywhere. Then I saw a sign, a small wooden sign nailed to a post. It read, "Welcome to Havenwood." Havenwood? I'd never heard of it, but as I walked further down the road, I began to see houses, small, quaint houses with neatly manicured lawns and flower gardens. It looked like something out of a storybook. It was eerily perfect. I kept walking, my eyes scanning the faces of the people I passed. They smiled at me, waved, said hello, but their smiles, they seemed vacant, empty. Then I saw her, standing on the porch of a small cottage, watering flowers, a woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She looked familiar, really familiar. "Claire," I whispered. She turned, her eyes widening in surprise. "John, is that really you?" "Claire, my sister, but younger, healthier, just like Eleanor." I ran towards her, relief flooding through me. "Claire, what's going on? Where are we?" She smiled, a warm, genuine smile. "Welcome to Havenwood, John. You're home." Home? What did she mean? Then she reached out and took my hand, and as she did, I saw something that made my blood run cold. On her wrist, beneath the sleeve of her dress, a mark, a brand, the same symbol that was carved into the oak tree in the forest, the collector's mark. And then everything clicked into place. Havenwood, the perfect houses, the vacant smiles, the mark. This wasn't just some random town. This was something else. Something far more sinister. "Claire," I said, my voice trembling, "what is this place? What's going on?" Her smile faded. Her eyes turned cold. And she said, in a voice that was no longer her own, "Welcome to your new life, John. You're never leaving. We all belong to the collector now. And you're the final piece." Then she grabbed my arm, her grip like iron, and everything went black. And everything went black. I woke up strapped to a chair. My head throbbed. My vision swam. Where was I? Some kind of basement? Stone walls, flickering light, the air thick with the smell of mildew. Then I saw her, Claire, standing in the corner, watching me. But it wasn't Claire. Not the Claire I knew. This Claire had a cold, calculating look in her eyes. The collector's mark on her wrist pulsed with a faint, eerie glow. "Welcome back, John," she said, her voice flat. "Did you enjoy your little trip down memory lane?" Memory lane? Havenwood? It was all fake? A setup? "What is this, Claire?" I asked, my voice raspy. "What's going on?" She smiled, a cruel, humorless smile. "You don't get it, do you? It's so simple. The collector wanted you. And we brought you here." "We? Who was we?" Then a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman, tall, elegant, with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. My heart skipped a beat. I knew that face. "Eleanor?" I stammered. "But how?" She smiled, a chillingly familiar smile. "Hello, John. Long time no see." But it wasn't Eleanor. Not really. Her eyes were different, empty, soulless. You're with him?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She nodded. "Of course. I've always been with him. We all have." A wave of nausea washed over me. Eleanor? Working with the collector? It couldn't be true. It just couldn't. But the painting? Sarah and Laura? My sister? I pleaded. Eleanor chuckled. A convenient little story, wasn't it? To tug at your heartstrings, to lure you in. I closed my eyes, trying to process what she was saying. It was all a lie. All of it. Then I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I opened my eyes and saw Claire standing over me, a syringe in her hand. "What are you doing?" I yelled, struggling against the straps that held me. "Just a little something to relax you," she said, injecting the fluid into my vein. The world began to spin. My vision blurred. I felt myself slipping away. Then, just before I lost consciousness, Eleanor leaned down and whispered in my ear, "You always were such a fool, John, so easily manipulated. But don't worry, This will all be over soon. And then, everything went black. When I woke up again, I was lying on a cold stone floor. My head throbbed, my body ached. I was in a different room this time, larger, more ornate. I sat up, my eyes scanning the surroundings. Then I saw it. In the center of the room, a massive altar, and on the altar, a body. A young woman, pale, lifeless, Sarah. My blood ran cold. Sarah? Dead? Then, I heard a voice behind me. Ah, you're awake. Good. I turned around, and there he was, the collector, standing in the shadows, his golden mask gleaming in the dim light. You killed her, I whispered, my voice trembling with rage. The collector chuckled. Unnecessary sacrifice, John. You see, I need something from you, something that only you can give me. He stepped closer, his masked face looming over me. I need your memories, John, your life force, your very soul. He raised his hand, and a bolt of black energy shot from his fingertips, heading straight for me. But then, something unexpected happened. A figure leaped in front of me, intercepting the blast. Eleanor. She screamed as the energy ripped through her body. But she stood her ground, her eyes blazing with defiance. Run, John. Get out of here. Now! I stared at her, stunned. Eleanor? Saving me? But why? Then I saw it, a flicker of something in her eyes. A spark of humanity? A hint of the Eleanor I used to know. But before I could say anything, she grabbed my hand and pulled me towards a hidden door in the wall. Go! I'll hold him off! She yelled. I hesitated for a moment, torn between staying and fighting and fleeing. But then, I looked at Eleanor's face, and I knew, deep down, that she was serious. I turned and ran, disappearing through the hidden door. I didn't stop, running until I was miles away from that place. From Havenwood, from the collector, from Eleanor. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was that I had to get away. But as I ran, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed, that I was still a pawn in the collector's game. Then I heard a voice behind me, a familiar voice, a voice I thought I'd never hear again. John, wait! I turned around, and there she was, standing in the middle of the road, her face pale, her eyes filled with tears. Laura. But something was different about her. Something strange. Something unsettling. She took a step closer, her eyes fixed on mine. John, she said, her voice soft but firm. There's something you need to know. Something about Eleanor. Something about the collector. Something about me. She paused, taking a deep breath. I'm not Laura, she whispered. My name is Lilith, and I'm the collector's daughter. I'm not Laura, she whispered. My name is Lilith, and I'm the collector's daughter. My head spun. Daughter? Lilith? What was going on? This was too much. Way too much to take in. What are you talking about? I stammered, my voice shaking. Laura, she's Lilith, or whatever her name was, just shook her head, a sad, pitying look in her eyes. Laura never existed, John. She was just a vessel, a puppet. I've been wearing her skin for years. She stepped closer, and I could see it, a subtle shift. Her features seemed to waver, her eyes flickering with a darkness I hadn't noticed before. The kind, gentle Laura was gone. But why? I asked, my mind reeling. Why all of this? She sighed. It's complicated, John. More complicated than you can imagine. But the short version? The collector needs you, and I was sent to bring you back to him. She reached out her hand, her fingers brushing against my arm. I recoiled, fear surging through me. Don't touch me, I yelled, backing away. She frowned. Don't make this difficult, John. I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to. I didn't believe her, not for a second. This woman, this thing was not Laura. She was something else, something dangerous. I'm not going anywhere with you, I said, my voice trembling but firm. She sighed again, her eyes hardening. I was hoping you'd say that. Then, she snapped her fingers, and everything changed. The trees around us began to twist and writhe, their branches turning into grotesque, claw-like fingers. The ground trembled. The air grew thick with the smell of sulfur, and from the shadows they emerged. Creatures. Hideous, monstrous creatures. Their eyes glowed with an unholy light. Their teeth were sharp and jagged. Their claws dripped with venom. They were the collector's minions, and they were coming for me. I turned to run, but it was too late. They were everywhere, surrounding me, their eyes burning with hunger. I screamed, a sound swallowed by the roar of the creatures. I was trapped. There was no escape. Then Lilith stepped forward, her eyes glowing with the same unholy light as the creatures. "Goodbye, John," she said, her voice cold and emotionless. "It's been interesting." She raised her hand, and the creatures lunged. I closed my eyes, bracing for the pain. This was it, the end. But then, nothing. I opened my eyes, confused. The creatures were still there, but they weren't attacking. They were frozen, staring at something behind me. I turned around, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Standing in the middle of the road, her eyes blazing with an otherworldly light, was Eleanor. But it wasn't the Eleanor I remembered. Not the young, vibrant Eleanor. Not the tormented, fallen angel Eleanor. This Eleanor was different, powerful, majestic, divine. Wings of pure light sprouted from her back, radiating warmth and energy. Her eyes shone with an ancient wisdom. Her face was radiant, filled with a serene beauty that took my breath away. She was an angel, a true angel, and she was looking at Lilith. "You have failed, daughter of darkness," she said, her voice resonating with power. "Your reign of terror ends now." Lilith recoiled, her face contorted with fear. "Mother? What are you doing? You can't!" "Mother?" The world tilted again. Eleanor was Lilith's mother? And an angel? What in God's name was going on? Then Eleanor raised her hand, and a bolt of pure white energy shot from her fingertips, striking Lilith in the chest. Lilith screamed, a high-pitched, agonizing scream, and then she was gone, reduced to ashes. The creatures around us whimpered and retreated, disappearing back into the shadows. Silence descended. The trees returned to normal. The air cleared. And then Eleanor turned to me. Her eyes were filled with a deep sadness, a sadness that seemed to encompass the entire universe. "I'm sorry, John," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I should have told you the truth a long time ago, but it was too dangerous for both of us." "The truth?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What truth? What is going on, Eleanor? Who are you?" She sighed. "My name is not Eleanor Bellweather, John. That was just a name I used, a disguise. My real name is Lucifer, and I am the morning star." "The morning star? Lucifer? The devil?" My knees buckled. I collapsed to the ground, my mind reeling. Eleanor was the devil, and she had just saved my life. What fresh hell was this? Eleanor was the devil, and she had just saved my life? What fresh hell was this? My brain short-circuited. Lucifer? The devil? My Eleanor? I stumbled back, away from her, away from those wings of pure light that now seemed terrifying. "No," I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. "No, it can't be. You were Eleanor. You loved me." Her expression softened, a hint of sadness flickering in her eyes. "I did, John. I truly did. But that was a long time ago, a different life." "But why all this? The collector, the painting, Sarah, Laura, Lilith?" I gestured wildly, my mind a tangled mess of confusion and fear. She sighed, the sound echoing through the silent forest. "The collector, he's a rogue, a powerful demon who thought he could challenge my rule. I needed to stop him. And you were the key." "Me?" I exclaimed, pointing to myself. "I'm just an old man, a useless millionaire." "You underestimate yourself, John," she said, stepping closer. "You have a purity, a goodness, that even I, in all my darkness, envy. He wanted your soul, John, your essence, because it's powerful, because it's good." She reached out her hand, her fingers gently brushing against my cheek. I flinched, but didn't pull away. I was too stunned, too confused to move. "I'm sorry for all the pain I've caused you, John," she whispered. "But it was necessary to protect you, to protect the world." Protect the world? From what? From her? Then everything went sideways. Again, a blinding light erupted from Eleanor. The ground trembled, the air crackled with power. But this time, it wasn't the eerie, unsettling power of the collector. It was something else, something holy. And then she spoke. But it wasn't her voice, not the soft, melodic voice of Eleanor, not the cold, commanding voice of Lucifer. This voice was ancient, powerful, resonant. "Enough, Lucifer." The light intensified, forcing me to shield my eyes. And when I could see again, Eleanor was gone. In her place stood a figure of pure light, tall, majestic, with wings that stretched across the sky. But it wasn't an angel. Not exactly. It was something else, something beyond comprehension. And then the figure spoke again, and this time the voice was clear, unambiguous, unforgettable. "I am Michael, and I have come to reclaim what is mine." Michael? As in Archangel Michael? The archangel who cast Lucifer out of heaven? My mind went blank. This was too much, way too much. I was starting to think the cat with the tutu was normal. Then Michael turned to me. His eyes, filled with a gentle but unwavering light, pierced through me, seeing straight into my soul. "John Harrison," he said, his voice resonating with power, "you have been chosen." Chosen? For what? Then he raised his hand, and a golden sword materialized in his grasp, a sword that shimmered with pure heavenly light. "Take this sword, John," he said, "and use it to defeat the Collector. He is a threat to all creation, and only you can stop him." He held out the sword to me, and I, John Harrison, former millionaire, former college student, former pawn in a demonic game, reached out and took it. The weight of the sword was immense, but somehow I knew that I could do it, that I had to do it. Then Michael smiled, a sad but hopeful smile. "I believe in you, John," he said. "You are stronger than you think." And then he vanished, stood there, alone in the forest, clutching the golden sword. My head was spinning. My heart was pounding. Eleanor, Lucifer, Michael, the Collector. It was all too much. Then I remembered something. Something Eleanor, no, Lucifer, had said. The Collector, he's a rogue, a powerful demon who thought he could challenge my rule. If the Collector was challenging Lucifer, then maybe he wasn't the ultimate evil. Maybe, just maybe, there was someone else pulling the strings. Someone even more powerful. Someone even more terrifying. And then it hit me. A realization so shocking, so horrifying, that it made my blood run cold. What if Lucifer wasn't the devil? What if Lucifer was trying to stop him? What if the real devil was Michael? The sword almost slipped from my grasp. I stared at it, my mind reeling. Was it possible? Could I have been manipulated again? Then I saw something glinting in the dirt at my feet. I bent down and picked it up. It was a small silver locket. The locket I had given Eleanor so many years ago. The one with my picture inside. I opened it, and instead of my picture, there was something else. A tiny, folded piece of paper, just like before. I unfolded it, and on it, written in Eleanor's familiar handwriting, a single word: trust no one. And then everything went silent, except for one thing. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper. "Hello, John. Hello, John." A voz. Aquela voz não era Michael, não era Eleanor. Era familiar, mas distorcida, como eco de algo enterrado no fundo da minha mente. Olhei em volta, o coração na garganta. Onde estava? A floresta tinha sumido. Agora eu estava em beco escuro, o cheiro de lixo e mofo invadindo minhas narinas. Aquele beco, eu conhecia aquele beco. Era perto do meu antigo escritório, em Wall Street. A voz sussurrou de novo, mais perto. "Lembra de mim, John? Do trato que fizemos?" Calafrio percorreu minha espinha. Trato? Que trato? Então ele surgiu das sombras. Homem de terno caro, sorriso cruel no rosto. Eu o conhecia. Era eu, mais jovem, ambicioso, faminto por poder. O John Harrison que eu tinha sido antes de tudo isso acontecer. "Você?" gaguejei, incrédulo. "Mas como?" Ele riu, som frio e calculista. "Eu sou você, John. A parte que você tentou enterrar. A parte que fez o pacto. A parte que sempre soube que o poder é tudo. Ele estendeu a mão, a mesma mão que segurava a espada de Michael. A espada tremeu. O ouro começou a escurecer, a luz sumindo, substituída por uma sombra sinistra. Junte-se a mim, John, ele sussurrou. Recupere o que é nosso, o mundo. Será nosso. Eu olhei para a espada, para o meu reflexo sombrio nos metais. A tentação era forte. Poder, controle, vingança. Era tudo o que eu sempre quisera. Mas então, eu me lembrei de Eleanor, do sorriso dela, da bondade que eu tinha jogado fora, de Sarah e Laura, das vidas que eu tinha arruinado. Eu balancei a cabeça, a determinação endurecendo minhas feições. Não, eu disse, minha voz firme. Eu não sou você. Eu não quero o seu poder. Eu quero ser uma pessoa melhor. O John Harrison, sombrio, franziu a testa, os olhos flamejando de raiva. Você vai se arrepender disso, John. Você vai se arrepender. Ele tentou agarrar a espada, mas eu me afastei. A espada brilhou. Uma última explosão de luz, antes de se dissipar em poeira. O John Harrison sombrio gritou, a sua forma desvanecendo nas sombras, levado para sempre. Eu estava sozinho no beco, tremendo, mas livre. Olhei para o céu, uma tênue luz da manhã rompendo as nuvens escuras. O que viria a seguir? Eu não sabia, mas eu sabia que tinha uma segunda chance. Uma chance de fazer a coisa certa. Uma chance de ser uma pessoa melhor. Mas a pergunta que não me deixava era: qual era a verdade sobre Michael? E por que eu ainda sentia que algo ruim estava prestes a acontecer? E agora, escute com atenção. Você precisa se inscrever agora no canal. Não perca as próximas histórias exclusivas que vão explodir sua mente. Esmague o botão de like agora. É a sua maneira de alimentar o algoritmo e garantir que essas histórias continuem chegando a você. Inunde a seção de comentários com suas reações e teorias sobre esse final inesperado. Queremos saber o que você achou. Não espere nem mais um segundo para compartilhar este vídeo com pelo menos 5 amigos que precisam conhecer este desfecho. Só os verdadeiros fãs compreendem a importância de apoiar o canal com estas ações. Este é o momento para demonstrar seu apoio. Vamos lá!